As I slowly stepped down from the arena, the crowd in the spectators' stands instantly fell into an uproar. Truly unbelievable. A level 10 defied the heavens to instant kill a level 12. The immortal grade bloodline is truly terrifying. At this moment, standing in the highest spectator section, the eyes of that enchanting woman also revealed shock. How is this possible? Just one move. Such strength must have broken the limit at least 4 times. Meanwhile, Pavlov appeared extremely excited. I only barely managed a single limit break when I was at level 10. It is truly hard to imagine what level Lu Xing's combat power will reach once he ascends to level 12. Immediately after, he looked to the side with a mischievous grin and spoke mysteriously. My dear old friend, it seems you will get to see the battle between Lu Xing and Monroe that you have been looking forward to. Hearing this, the enchanting woman began to stutter. It is indeed quite impressive, but the Monroe of our star sector is not someone that a mere grace can compare to. After saying that, she ran off directly. Excuse me, I suddenly remembered I have some matters to handle. Seeing this, Pavlov danced with joy. Finally, I got to see that old woman eat her words. Standing nearby, Akali spoke slowly. Up to now, Lu Xing has brought us too many surprises. This time, he has completely exceeded expectations. I cannot imagine how far he can truly go. However, at that moment, I suddenly felt the sensation of being targeted by a hunter. I immediately scanned the surroundings and soon found the source of that gaze. It was Monroe from the Hill Star sector. Seeing this, I was speechless. Could this guy have some unspeakable special hobby? At the same time, the phone in my pocket vibrated, and on the screen, my younger sister Lu Xing's face was full of playfulness. You were so cool just now. You were completely crushing them. But just as I was immersed in my sister's praise, another mysterious sensation of being watched instantly surrounded me. I constantly scanned the area. That feeling just now, who exactly was it? In the following time, the competition continued. Although the matches were still exciting, none reached the level of shock as my feat of a level 10 defeating a level 12. At this moment, I stood at the highest point of the arena overlooking everything. That inexplicable gaze still appeared from time to time. If not for my extremely sensitive spiritual power, I would have almost let it slip by. But whenever I tried to find the source, the sensation of being watched would vanish without a trace. This meant the person's spiritual power was far above mine, reaching at least level 13. But then I couldn't help but wonder, is there really a master with level 13 spiritual power here, peering at me so unscrupulously? It is unlikely to be the speaker or high-level officials. The only ones left are the contestants. Monroe's interest in me is practically undisguised, so there is only one other possibility. Qian Yushu from the Purple Mist Star. Looking at the composed Qian Yushu, the corners of my mouth curled slightly. Truly interesting. He doesn't even spare me a glance. No matter if it's you or not, I'll just beat you to death when we meet. However, it seems my spiritual power is about to become a bottleneck. While there are no matches, I must quickly improve it. I lightly tapped my brow with my index finger, and in the next second, I immersed myself in the Fire Seed Resource Library. A long time later, as I opened my eyes, a light like a meteor flashed through them. Simultaneously, the voice of the host rang out. I didn't expect our contestant Lu Xing to draw a bye in the 7-4 match. The suspense of the immortal continues. Looking at the draw results, I was speechless. Is my luck really this good? On the other side, the enchanting woman shouted at Pavlov, "Did you organizers engage in under-the-table operations?" Hearing this, Pavlov answered calmly, "I didn't do a thing." At this time, Far slowly walked toward me to offer congratulations. Congratulations. Monroe and Qian Yushu have been reasonably separated. They have each been matched against the top seeds of other star sectors and will most likely meet you in the finals. However, just as he finished speaking, I sprawled out on the ground. Seeing this, Far couldn't help but be startled. At a time like this, how can you still want to sleep? Right then, the host began to announce the participants of the match. Ladies and gentlemen, the semifinals officially begin. Monroe versus Mad Dragon. Following that, a burly, muscular man stood on the arena gripping his fists. 150 years ago I lost to you. Now, my titanium extreme true body has reached great completion. This time, I will surely defeat you. Monroe looked at the burly man and asked, "What was your name again?" Hearing this, Mad Dragon instantly flew into a rage, the veins on his face bulging. "I want you dead." With a roar, Mad Dragon leaped up, his fists carrying endless momentum as he appeared before Monroe. Seeing this, a wisp of chilling flame seeped from Monroe's eyes. In an instant, Mad Dragon's entire body was firmly sealed inside an ice coffin formed by a massive block of ice. Looking at Monroe freezing another opponent in one move, Far's expression changed. One must know that Monroe's opponent this time was also level 12, yet he could still achieve an instant kill. Truly terrifying. Meanwhile, the host announced the result of the other match. Let us congratulate contestant Qian Yushu on his victory. At this time, Qian Yushu slowly looked into the distance. Far, with an anxious face, called my name softly. Seeing that I ignored him completely, Far was helpless. Is this guy really asleep? However, at that moment, I lightly slapped Far's shoulder. Is the second round of matches over? Far immediately replied, yes. The third round draw ceremony is about to take place soon. Under the host's exclamation, the third round draw results were displayed on the virtual screen. Lu Xing of the Yamu Star Sector versus Monroe of the Hill Star Sector. Seeing this, a hint of meaningful coldness coldness surfaced in my eyes. On the other side, Monroe looked at the draw result and murmured, "Are we finally facing each other?" At the same time, the host was filled with excitement. One is the owner of an immortal grade bloodline that appears once in a million years. The other is a hegemon-level figure of the younger generation famous across all major star sectors. It is no exaggeration to say this match is the ultimate battle of this tournament. Whoever wins represents the final result of the competition. Let us wait and see. A moment later, as Monroe and I stood together on the arena, two piercing pressures instantly collided. This battle would be the peak confrontation between a new myth and an old legend. It was destined to be watched by everyone. Meanwhile, Lu Mother's face was full of worry. Why must our son fight that white-haired guy? I hope the heavens protect our Lu Sheng and let him win. Seeing this, Lu Dehai jokingly said, "Don't say such discouraging things. Our son will definitely win. Our Lu family has such an amazing son. When we go back, we must renovate the ancestral graves, build them 8 stories high." Hearing the conversation between my parents, I shook my head helplessly. It seems I am still prone to making people worry. Then, I noticed something unusual about the beautiful officer. Dong Qingxue was continuously stroking her lower abdomen. Seeing this, I was momentarily stunned. However, in that moment of distraction, Monroe's voice came from behind. "You guy, the match is about to start. What are you looking at?" After he spoke, his eyes turned cold in an instant, and the surrounding temperature dropped several degrees. "Don't you know that being distracted in battle is an act of extreme disrespect to your opponent?" Seeing this, I asked, "Sorry, what did you just say?" Hearing this, a wisp of chilling flame seeped from Monroe's eyes. "It seems I must teach you what respect is." In an instant, Monroe spread the 3 pairs of pure white wings on his back, while pale blue flames adhered to them. Immediately, a bone-chilling aura swept through the entire arena. I immediately crossed my hands in front of my chest to resist the invasion of the cold aura. However, even so, the transparent ice froze half of my body in just an instant. Simultaneously, Monroe, with clenched fists, appeared behind me. In the next second, I was sent airborne by the attack of a white fist wind. As a whistling sound of breaking air rang out, Monroe charged at me again, as expected of an immortal grade bloodline. If it were an ordinary person, they would have been sealed by my ultimate move already. At this moment, although blood seeped from the corner of my mouth, I still laughed. Seeing this, Monroe kicked me hard. "Even at this point, you can still laugh." As he spoke, a mysterious array appeared behind his head, while several azure ice spheres condensed around him. "I think you truly want to die." Then, those ice spheres shot toward me like lightning. In an instant, a chilling cold light filled the entire arena. This was one of Monroe's killing moves, Chilling Hell Flash. Looking at the vague figure in the smoke, Monroe spoke slowly. "Where's your transformation state? Where's your 4-limit break strength? Why haven't you used them? Are you looking down on me?" Soon, as the dust gradually settled, the skin of my upper body was completely exposed to the air. At the same time, I kept murmuring, "So that's how it is." Seeing this, Monroe flew into a rage, the veins on his forehead bulging. He shouted as the ice spheres around him condensed into a blue light beam that shot toward me. In an instant, accompanied by a deafening explosion, a brilliant light swept the entire arena. At this time, the audience looking at my state on the virtual screen was confused. Why doesn't Lu Sheng fight back? Not only is he taking a beating, but he was just laughing. What is he thinking? Seeing this scene, the beautiful officer's face was full of worry. Meanwhile, after Monroe landed another heavy blow on me and saw me fall into a daze, a flash of disdain appeared in his eyes. "Truly boring. This meaningless battle doesn't need to continue. Let it end here." As he spoke, the second silver galaxy rules of the entire space began to converge toward him frantically. Seeing this, Pavlov's face was full of disbelief. This is the power of level 12 rules. Monroe has actually reached the peak of level 12. Looking at the strength Monroe displayed, the faces of the 3 people in the highest spectators section were covered in shock. Immediately, the enchanting woman, who was the speaker of the Hill Star sector, cried out, "Less than 1,000 years old, and he has fused 2 silver galaxy rules into his body. Combined with his son great extraordinary body, Monroe's strength might have already surpassed ours." Then, she turned back and mocked, "I say it doesn't matter if Lu Sheng is in his right state or not, because the result is fixed. He is destined to fall at Monroe's hand." Hearing this, Pavlov's eyes narrowed slightly. "It is perhaps too early to say such things. Lu Sheng hasn't lost yet." The enchanting woman grinned. "Then let us wait and see." Meanwhile, Monroe was continuously drawing the second silver galaxy rule into his body. He looked at me wickedly, his eyes filled with endless battle intent. He let out a roar, and his aura surged rapidly. In the next second, a deep blue light beam broke through the clouds and pierced the sky. Wherever the light went, the surrounding stars were instantly frozen. At this moment, Monroe seemed to have evolved, with a crown unique to him floating above his head. Then, a cold light burst from his eyes. "I've kept you waiting. To express respect for the immortal bloodline, I am willing to let you fall under the punch of my strongest state." As he spoke, the great might of heaven and earth continuously converged into his palm. Feeling the continuously dropping temperature around me, a look of tenderness appeared in my eyes. I can't let her worry anymore. After all, she needs to nurture the fetus in peace. Simultaneously, Monroe charged at me with extreme speed. In an instant, a brilliant cold light filled the arena. Seeing this, many spectators began to discuss. Lu Sheng is completely finished now. Monroe is at the peak of level 12, completely incomparable to before. This is simply a one-sided slaughter. Even Pavlov, upon seeing this, shouted to a colleague, "Go and rescue him. We cannot let anything happen to Lu Sheng." On the other side, my parents were gradually collapsing in despair. At this time, the beautiful officer looked at the arena with worried eyes, while lightly stroking her abdomen and murmuring, "Lu Sheng, you must return safely." Looking at the screen filled with rolling dust, a spectator spoke confidently, "There is nothing left to see. The result is obvious. Under this blow, Lu Sheng is either dead or definitely heavily injured." Hearing the constant discussions around him, even the host began to hesitate. Has it really ended like this? However, at that moment, a flame suddenly broke through the layers of smoke. I caught Monroe's attack easily with one hand. "I am truly sorry, because I was too happy just now. I got a bit distracted." Hearing this, Monroe laughed loudly. "This is the immortal I wanted to see." After blocking a horizontal sweep from me, Monroe's battle intent surged again. "I didn't expect that today I would stain my hands with immoral blood. Truly an unexpected joy." Seeing this, I smiled slightly. "You want to personally stain your hands with immoral blood? You are not worthy." After I threw a punch at Monroe, a small golden crow slowly condensed between my hands. "Your glacial age has ended. Now is my starry sky 5th season." In an instant, a phoenix cry that pierced the sky echoed through the entire arena. Seeing this, Monroe gripped his fists, his face showing pure excitement. "This is the battle I wanted." At the same time, he roared, "Come on." In the next second, accompanied by a dragon's roar, a giant blue dragon appeared in the night sky. The moment the two forces touched, heaven and earth lost their color, and the surrounding space began to wail continuously. Seeing this, Pavlov's face was full of shock. A battle this intense is something even I cannot join. I might even be annihilated in an instant. How can they be so strong? Akali asked in confusion. "Do you mean their battle has reached level 13? Pavlov's eyes were full of horror. "No, he hasn't reached the level 13 tier yet. I once had the honor of seeing a level 13 battle. It is an existence where even cosmic space would be shattered and destroyed. But even so, their battle is very close. The surrounding space already shows signs of cracking." Meanwhile, on the arena, the competition between the two lights grew more intense. Soon, two figures both stepped back several paces. Monroe grinned. "It seems you are only at this level. You truly disappoint me." Hearing this, I slowly raised my arm and said, "Your domain is quite good. Perhaps it can complete the path I am missing. I will reluctantly accept it." I then snapped my fingers. "Next, let me show you the second stage of the immortal bloodline." In an instant, the entire sky was filled with extreme flames that wrapped around me. At this moment, I was like a starry sky deity nurtured by a star, stepping from an unstable growth phase into a stable maturity phase. Seeing this, Monroe's pupils constricted. "I didn't expect you to hide such powerful strength." Feeling the infinite power filling my body, a fierce battle intent flashed in my eyes. "Now it's my turn to say it. Come again." In the next second, I released a massive amount of extreme flames from my palm toward him. Monroe could only build a barrier of ice crystals in front of himself. However, the moment the flames touched the barrier, the high temperature melted it instantly. Looking at the flames close at hand, a trace of panic finally appeared on Monroe's face. Because he couldn't believe it, one must know his cold had once frozen a real star. Bathed in flames, I spoke calmly. "Someone once shot an arrow at the setting sun. When night fell, he believed he had shot down the sun." Then, with extreme speed, I pressed my palm onto Monroe's head. "Tell me, isn't that person ridiculous?" With that, the brilliant extreme flame swallowed Monroe instantly. Feeling the flames capable of easily melting a planet, Monroe seized the opportunity to escape immediately. He knew no ice could survive at this temperature. At least he couldn't do it himself. Monroe's pupils showed thin blood vessels. "I admit I underestimated you and admit the strength of the immortal bloodline, but unfortunately, you are ultimately just level 10. You cannot truly defeat me." However, as soon as he finished speaking, my figure suddenly appeared in front of him. I landed a heavy punch on Monroe's face. "What are you mumbling about?" Looking at Monroe crashing onto the arena, I smiled slightly. "We've fought to this point, and you're still putting on an act?" With that, I swung my fists continuously, but in the next second, Monroe suddenly released a strong pressure and roared. A massive phantom appeared behind him. "I will kill you at any cost." Monroe was now frantically consuming his essence, condensing a white chilling current that could cover an entire star system. It not only froze all the spectators present, but even countless spaceships and space stations in the universe were frozen. Seeing this, Pavlov shouted, "Quick, evacuate the audience immediately." Then he stared at the speaker of the Hill Star sector. "Is your Monroe crazy? He's burning his essence just to compete with Lu Sheng. Why aren't you stopping him?" The enchanting woman replied after a moment of silence, "I can't do it. Monroe is the strongest person in our star sector. Please forgive my helplessness." Meanwhile, Monroe's eyes became blood red. "You don't seem to understand the concept of the peak of level 12 at all. This is a gap of nearly 3 major realms. It is time for all this to end." Then, he locked his 10 fingers together tightly. In an instant, a brilliant white light burst from his palms. Seeing this, I still stood calmly on the spot. "Is the gap between level 10 and level 12 that big?" "I don't think so." I turned my left hand from a palm into a fist, continuously condensing the violent firepower around me. "I shall use this move to finish you, an inheritance from my mentor. True martial power of the stars destroy." In a flash, the entire star system was lit up like broad daylight. The scorching temperature rapidly melted Monroe's attack until he was bathed in the brilliant light. After a while, Monroe knelt on the ground, looking haggard. I patted his shoulder and said slowly, "Don't be so arrogant next time. You must know the starry sky is vast, and masters are like clouds. This time you were lucky to meet me. Next time you might not have such luck." On the arena, looking at the nearly unconscious Monroe, my tone was filled with displeasure. "You guys are really impolite. You don't even know how to say thank you. If I had known, I would have let your..." With that, I disappeared and reappeared beside Far. Far was used to my sudden appearance. "Liu Sheng, congratulations on your victory. Let's focus on the next match." Before he could finish, he saw me lying on the ground resting with my eyes closed, leaving only a sentence, "Call me when it's time." In my mind, I kept recalling the battle with Monroe. One must know that I possess over 112,000 kinds of martial will. I had to gather all of them just to barely use the third supernatural power. In the next moment, my consciousness entered the dream space, the qualitative change caused by the extreme quantity. Even with my careful control of all the power, I almost failed. Thinking of this, I sat cross-legged, with tens of thousands of martial wills swirling around me. I had to review and consolidate that feeling now. Meanwhile, Pavlov fell into a momentary daze after watching the match, ultimately heaven-defying. Liu Sheng has completely shattered everyone's cognition of the path and the extraordinary life body. Before he appeared, the competitions only covered the nearby 12 star sectors, and there had never been an immortal. People knew of the immortal but did not understand it. Akali's eyes were filled with excitement, and through this battle, Liu Sheng has, to some extent, truly defined what an immortal is. The battle between Monroe and me brought a huge shock to everyone. Level 10 explosive victory over peak level 12. It completely overturned their understanding. Although Qian Yushu's subsequent matches were striking, even his sword chi could span the starry sky and split the heavens, few people cheered for him. It wasn't until the host announced the final duel that people suddenly snapped out of it. At this time, Far anxiously shook me awake. "Liu Sheng, it's almost your turn." I slowly fixed my gaze forward. Qian Yushu was already standing on the arena. As I descended into the match arena, there was a hint of complexity in my eyes, but it couldn't hide my brilliance as the sole protagonist of this tournament. However, the moment I made eye contact with Qian Yushu, the immortal cells in my body frantically sent me a warning. Feeling the tremor of the bloodline, a fierce battle intent instantly radiated from my body. "No matter what your intentions are, they will be annihilated under my power of the stars." As the host loudly announced the start of the match, the tens of thousands of martial wills within me turned into bolts of lightning, frantically gathering on my fist. Qian Yushu also felt the will erupting from me. He frowned slightly, staring at me intently. In that instant, I suddenly felt a familiar spiritual fluctuation. "So it really was you, the level 13 spiritual peeping boy." I clenched my fist and shot toward him. Qian Yushu realized the threat and thought to himself that things were going poorly. However, as my punch missed, a large amount of debris flew in all directions. I looked up. At this moment, Qian Yushu was surrounded by bursts of sword chi, as brilliant as meteors in the night sky. With a wave of his hand, tens of thousands of long swords tore through the void and shot toward me. Seeing this, I immediately clenched my fist, pouring the power of tens of thousands of stellar seeds into it. At the moment my fist collided with the swords, the entire arena shone brilliantly, and a massive amount of dust instantly filled the match field. As the dust settled, Qian Yushu appeared behind me unharmed. "I didn't expect you to hide so deep. Your strength has long surpassed Monroe's." Qian Yushu remained silent with a frown, his hands continuously forming hand signs. A large number of flying swords once again swirled around him, and in that sword array, one massive flying sword was brilliant beyond comparison. In the next second, tens of thousands of flying swords, carrying terrifying sword chi, tore through the endless void and came straight at me. Seeing this, I stared and cursed. "Holy crap, Qian Yushu, you don't play fair. You're an immortal cultivator and you're competing with a martial artist like me." As soon as I finished speaking, the thousands of swords fell on me like raindrops. Even though I possessed the defense of the stellar supreme body, it was easily pierced by this sword chi, showing its alarming lethality. At the same time, I clenched my fists again, my eyes erupting with endless battle intent. "It seems I have to use that move. We practice martial arts and you cultivate immortality. Today we'll see if your flying swords are sharper or my fists are harder." In an instant, the moment my fist swung out, a brilliant light filled the entire training field. Seeing this, Akali was greatly shocked. I didn't expect a level 12 Qian Yushu to possess 3 silver galaxy rules. Pavlov's pupils also shrank. More than that, right now, Qian Yushu is stronger than every one of us present. He immediately ordered, if Qian Yushu really tries to harm Liu Sheng, directly deploy the level 14 Star Destroyer cannon to completely annihilate him. I don't care what kind of otherworld powerhouse reincarnation he is. Even 10 of them aren't as precious as one immortal grade bloodline. Meanwhile, beside Qian Yushu, that massive flying sword radiated terrifying sword chi. The Grand Luogingjin sword array was complete. This one sword strike was enough to heavily injure a void refining realm powerhouse, which corresponds to level 13 in this universe's civilization martial level. This kid, no matter how strong he is, will definitely not be able to resist. Once he is heavily injured, I can take the opportunity to seize his body. I continuously swung my fists to resist the thousands of flying swords. I smiled slightly. Qian Yushu, is this all you've got? Beside Qian Yushu, the giant sword continued to radiate intimidating pressure. He laughed softly. Don't be in a hurry. The good show has just begun. On the other side, Pavlov had long been shocked by the strength shown by the two. Another five-fold limit break. I didn't expect Qian Yushu to reach the same height as Lu Sheng. Even Akali, the chief of enforcement, couldn't help but look troubled. Now we can't even stop the match. If we rashly go up, we might be affected by their aura. A battle of this level is no longer something we can participate in. Meanwhile, I was constantly resisting the bombardment of thousands of flying swords with my physical body, truly never-ending and annoying. With that, a heaven-shaking pressure erupted from my body, instantly shattering the surrounding flying swords. Then, a massive golden figure appeared in the universe, looking down on the entire planet. This was my 500,000-meter martial avatar after ascending to level 10. Seeing me inside the brow of the golden giant, Qian Yushu sneered. Want to use the avatar body to resist this sword of mine? The idea is good, but can you really block it? The great might of heaven and earth continuously gathered toward the giant sword above his head. In just a moment, that giant sword carrying endless pressure tore through the void and shot toward me. I immediately flew out of the giant's brow, my body surrounded by bolts of golden lightning. Perfect timing. As the distance between the giant sword and me closed, the moment I touched the giant sword with one hand, I spoke slowly. The diffused power of a martial avatar naturally cannot block this sword of yours. My eyes erupted with endless battle intent. Fourth supernatural power. Golden glazed body. In an instant, cracks appeared on the body of that giant sword. Qian Yushu's pupils were stunned. How is this possible? As soon as he spoke, the giant sword began to collapse like mud. Looking at the sword body scattering in the air, Qian Yushu's eyes were full of disbelief. What kind of monster are you? I flexed my fingers and murmured, what are you babbling about? I finally managed to bait your ultimate move. You had quite a lot of fun cutting me just now, didn't you? I then shot toward him like an arrow from a bow. Now it's my turn to squeeze you. Qian Yushu immediately held his flying sword horizontally in front of his chest to resist my punch. However, the moment my fist touched the sword, it shattered instantly. With no resistance left, the punch landed squarely on Qian Yushu's body. Feeling the pain in his abdomen, Qian Yushu couldn't believe it. My flying sword, with the blessing of the Grand Luogengjin sword array, could even behead a level 13 void refining realm cultivator. This person actually blocked it with his bare hands. Why is this? On the other side, Pavlov's mouth hung open. Truly unbelievable. This immortal grade bloodline that appears once in a million years is far more outrageous than we highly estimated. Akali also said, in comparison, it seems only his peak level 11 spiritual power can be considered a weakness. But then Akali gave a bitter smile and thought to herself, peak level 11 spiritual power being called a weakness sounds quite ironic. My fists continuously struck Qian Yushu's body. I clenched my fist and looked at him calmly. Are you ready to die? Qian Yushu crossed his hands together, blood seeping from the corners of his mouth. There's no other way. I have to use it. A flying sword appeared before him to block my attack. Under my strike, the sword body cracked instantly, and at the same time, a burst of blood sprayed from Qian Yushu's mouth. I was momentarily stunned, then a mischievous smile appeared on my face. He started spitting blood before I even hit his body. Ignoring Qian Yushu's resistance, I punched the flying sword again. Looking at Qian Yushu spitting blood again, my fists fell on the flying sword like raindrops. Interesting, truly too interesting. At this moment, Qian Yushu seemed to have turned into a human fountain. Feeling the spiritual torture, Qian Yushu's eyes burst with cold light. In an instant, a deep blue spiritual attack shot toward me. Die, Lu Sheng. I swiped my hand and scattered it. The peeping boy can't win with heart strength, so he uses a spiritual sneak attack? Truly despicable. I slowly raised my arm and looked at him coldly. In the next second, a beam of light instantly pierced through his head. Simultaneously, a small person flew out of Qian Yushu's body. I will remember this grudge. See how I next time. Before the small person could finish, I grabbed it firmly in my palm. So you're a nascent soul, huh? Let's see where you run now. I then swallowed it in one gulp. Consider this compensation for your previous peeping. With my blood, after swallowing Qian Yushu's nascent soul, I patted my stomach. Truly a great tonic. Looking at Qian Yushu's gradually dissipating body, I couldn't help murmuring, fortunately, I investigated their backgrounds beforehand. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been so decisive in killing him here. I then slowly looked into the distance. The previously silent audience, after a moment of silence, erupted with applause like a tidal wave. Pavlov's face was full of excitement. This is the immortal bloodline. Let us congratulate Lu Sheng. With a level 10 body, he consecutively fought 2 level 12s and 1 quasi-level 13 contestant without a single defeat. A counterattack across 3 realms. Killing was as easy as drinking water. From now on, he truly defines what an immortal is. On the other side, Far was already in tears. We have not only witnessed the birth of history but also the prelude to a legend and a myth. From now on, the entire universe shall chant the name of the immortal. Then my family stepped into the arena. My sister Lu Qinghe excitedly pounded my chest. Brother, you are too amazing. In contrast, my parents' faces looked as if they had survived a catastrophe, repeatedly saying it was good that I was okay. At this moment, the beautiful beautiful officer looking at me was full of tenderness. She lightly stroked her abdomen and thought to herself, "Did you see that, baby? Your dad is now the champion of the universe." At the same time, the interstellar martial arts genius exchange tournament that shook 13 star sectors came to a close. Countless spectators and contestants set sail for home to spread the tournament's results to every corner of the universe. Time flew by. Currently, in a top-tier medical facility in the Yamu star sector, I was solemnly refusing a request. "I have no interest in what you are saying." The man's face was filled with anxiety. "Lord Lu Shen, please, you must reconsider." With that, he handed over something with both hands. "Regarding the reward, our company will definitely not be vague. Please accept this business card no matter what." However, at that moment, the security personnel discovered the anomaly here. "It's you again, always sneaking into the VIP area. What exactly are you trying to do?" The man hurriedly ran away while reminding me again, "Please, Lord Lu Shen, you must consider it." Looking at the business card in my hand, it was tough on him. This fat man was a gold medal producer for a super large film and television group that spanned multiple star sectors. He had sneaked in just to get me to agree to star in their new drama, The Legend of the Immortal. It was said the estimated investment for this drama exceeded 10 trillion black crystal coins. As long as I agreed, I could easily obtain several trillion in compensation. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but smile bitterly. To be honest, if it weren't for the fact that a terrifying crisis capable of destroying the entire star system awaits me in 6 years, and my usual cultivation makes me wish I could use 1 second as a minute, I wouldn't have time to consider these things. But the price was indeed somewhat tempting. A while later, I walked into a room. I saw the beautiful officer sitting on a nursing bed. Upon seeing me, Dong Qingxue smiled. "You came just after I finished the examination." I slowly took my wife's hand and told her everything that had happened. Although I can get whatever I want just by asking the Yamu star sector, it's a bit embarrassing to always reach out. I then took the beautiful officer into my arms. After all, I have a child now. I have to support the family. At this time, the nurse slowly spoke. "Respected Lord Lu Shen, your wife's body is very healthy, and the child in her womb is very stable. It's just..." Before she could finish, I frowned. "Just what?" The nurse hurriedly bowed and explained. "It's just that your bloodline, Earl, is too powerful. The gestation time for the child might far exceed that of an ordinary human. The conservative estimate is over 3 cosmic years, which is about 9 years in Earth time." Hearing this, I couldn't help but break into a cold sweat and thought, goodness, even Neza from the legends of my previous life didn't take that long. If this goes on, the child might be born pointing one finger to the sky and one to the ground, shouting between heaven and earth, "I alone am supreme. My fate is determined by me, not by the heavens." Meanwhile, the communicator in my pocket vibrated. As the screen opened, my sister anxiously asked, "Brother, how is Sister Qingxue?" After my explanation, all 3 of them looked worried. I said, "Since we have time now and the tournament rewards have just been distributed, let's just pick a planet and move there together. Qingxue can recover well there." My sister Lu Qingha asked softly, "Brother, how many planets do you currently have under your name?" I thought for a moment and replied, Currently, there are about 100,000 inhabitable planets." A few days later, our family traveled in the White Hole Shuttler spaceship, jumping out of a space wormhole and arriving at the 263rd territory planet. Looking at the peaceful and vibrant scene before me, I slowly took off my sunglasses. The total area is twice that of Earth, and the land area is as high as 60%. There are no signs of exotic beast invasion. Although there are indigenous people, the strongest among them is only at level 6 of the martial path. This is the place. Thinking of this, I quickly asked the beautiful officer in my arms, "Wife, are you satisfied with this place?" After receiving Dong Qingshue's affirmation, I thought for a moment. It was time to give this planet a new name. It was originally called Planet Vanda, which truly lacked taste. I clenched my fist. From now on, this is officially renamed Nurturing Fetus Planet. Looking at my smug back, the beautiful officer couldn't help but be embarrassed. It seemed her husband had no talent for naming things. After our family moved to the new home, I also brought over relatives and friends from Earth, but at the same time, a new contact came from my side. Looking at the name on the phone, I fell into deep thought. Soon, as the virtual screen opened, the frontline commander-in-chief Lu Moying had a grave expression. "Lu Sheng, we lost 1 level 11 and 4 level 10 powerhouses in the depths of the catacombs at the coordinates you provided. The news they sent back shows that the situation is even worse than we expected." I lowered my eyes. It seemed that during the time I was away from Earth, that fellow might have thought of a more sinister way to deal with me. I remembered when I was recovering in the sea, how lucky it was to escape from that unspeakable shadow. Although the predicted disaster is in 6 years, who knows if something will go wrong in the meantime. It seems I must hurry and close up for cultivation to speed up my pace. The scene changed. As my figure appeared in the dream space, I continuously stared at the 2 clumps of flames in my palms. The dark side of the fire represents the power of endless erosion. If I use the source power to deduce all the way, it may not be inferior to my stellar path. But the problem is, can this dark side of fire really merge into my martial art? Thinking of this, I immediately held my hands across my chest. I'll never know if I don't try. I saw the 2 diametrically opposite flames slowly approaching, but in the next second, as they were about to merge, they both dissipated. I immediately asked asked Ai. Check the deduction progress. Looking at the strings of cold numbers on the virtual screen, I was stunned. I waved my hand. If fusion won't work, then I'll practice them separately. With that, an eyeball appeared in my palm. The heterogeneous body is derived from the dark side of the universe, and it couldn't be more suitable for carrying the martial arts of the dark side. I remember in a novel from my previous life, the protagonist practiced an extremely powerful technique that could simultaneously purify the practitioner's divinity into monism and even achieve a combined divine-demon body that could transform between each other. When as a god, the time is righteous and solemn, vast and boundless, every gesture like the great sun shining with the great might of heaven. When as a demon, it is ghostly, treacherous, cold, and ruthless, carrying the overbearing and peerless great might of the 9 hells of darkness. Although that was only a description in a novel, I believe the world's strongest techniques are all derived from imagination. I want to simultaneously cultivate immortal and heterogeneous cells to walk an unprecedented supreme path of a divine demon combined body. But then my eyes lowered. It's a pity that my supreme body is too overbearing, so much so that the heterogeneous cells only show their face before being instantly suppressed, having no room for survival, let alone coexisting with the immortal cells. However, in the next second, I suddenly turned back. It won't work on my body, but what about the heterogeneous clone I left on Earth? With that, I cast my consciousness onto Earth 500 light years away. In the deep, dark, and lightless abyss of the catacombs, my main consciousness gradually woke up. Only a deafening roar echoed through the entire chamber. As I slowly opened my eyes and looked at the heterogeneous clone I had left behind, I couldn't help but be surprised. Goodness, how many creatures did it swallow to have such a huge body? Just then, a treacherous spiritual power suddenly invaded my mind. In my consciousness space, countless eyes were staring at me, and there seemed to be a barrier in front of them preventing it from moving forward. Good child, come over here. I was surprised. Although these eyes were disgusting, they revealed emotion, a kind of maternal love a mother has for her child. At the same time, his voice continuously rang in the heterogeneous clone's mind. Eat more, child. You must grow up faster so you can become stronger, and then help me catch that human boy. Seeing this scene, my eyes became clear. So that's how it is. It's here for me again. It seems he truly hates me to the bone. Unable to wait for 6 years, he wants to cultivate a capable subordinate here to cause trouble for me in advance. With careful observation, one can see that this heterogeneous clone is also very strong. He must have spotted it when it was just showing its talent. A heterogeneous clone that has undergone tens of millions of evolutions has 1,000 times better potential than ordinary exotic beasts. Moreover, the main consciousness of the heterogeneous body, was not there, making the heterogeneous clone like a newborn, which is very easy to control. How could he not be interested in such a perfect subordinate from all aspects? How could he not devote his heart and soul to cultivating it? If he knew that the object he was raising as his own son was actually my heterogeneous clone, I wonder if he would go crazy on the spot. Moreover, I can perfectly absorb the energy of this heterogeneous body, cultivating me to deal with me. You really are a big smart from the dark universe. As the heterogeneous clone continued to swallow the creatures around it, under the several days of nurturing by the unspeakable him, I watched the heterogeneous clone break through from level 9 to level 11. I gave a cold laugh. After this period of careful cultivation, the volume of the heterogeneous clone had increased several times, truly becoming an evil fusion body. However, at that moment, the skin on the heterogeneous clone's body rapidly split open, accompanied by a roar of pain. I was delighted. It seemed it was about to evolve again. This appearance would give a child nightmares, but in his eyes, it was probably a perfect masterpiece. But I also have to work harder, otherwise, in a while, the clone might surpass the main body. The heterogeneous clone has no realm bottlenecks. As long as there is enough energy, it can keep getting stronger. It might not be long before it breaks through to level 12 or even level 13. But then I stroked my chin. No matter how he transforms the heterogeneous clone, as long as my main consciousness descends, I only need one thought to wipe out all the traces he left in the clone, returning it to my control. I'll just let it develop like this and log in every once in a while to check the situation. Perhaps an operation I did unintentionally back then will become a stroke of genius, and I have a very strong premonition that this heterogeneous clone might become something immeasurable in the future. Thinking of this, my eyes suddenly froze. Wait, the essence of life is the process of turning disorder into order in the universe, while the rules of the dark universe are exactly the opposite. My chaotic and disordered cultivation route might just fit the path the heterogeneous clone should take. The so-called yin and yang are inseparable. Perhaps this is the truth. When the heterogeneous clone finishes its cultivation in the dark universe and returns in the future, it will be the day my technique reaches great completion. Now it's time to sort through the spoils I've gathered. One is Monroe's ice domain, which can freeze even a star and points toward level 13. It's a perfect supplement for my northern black tortoise true water. I then had Ai perform the deduction, using the universe's source power to merge the martial arts. Next, I looked at the other one, which was my biggest gain this time, the memory treasure from Qian Yushu. After I swallowed his nascent soul, besides absorbing the spiritual power contained in his soul, the memories were untouched. After absorbing his power, my spiritual power also successfully ascended to level 12. As wisps of black entered my mind, let me see what secrets are hidden in your memories. During this process, I was surprised to find that my soul actually carried a devouring attribute, like a hungry beast preying on Qian Yushu's memory fragments. In an instant, countless spiritual images flooded into my mind. Currently, in a city of a certain universe, four doctors stood stunned under the shadowless lamp, murmuring, "What's wrong with this child?" One of the doctors picked up the newborn. The baby was radiating golden light, like a deity descending to earth. At the same time, a dimensional portal suddenly appeared in the room. Is he finally born? As soon as the voice fell, a man in a red robe appeared out of thin air. As he slowly stretched out his palm, a burst of purple spiritual power completely wrapped the baby. The doctors seemed to be frozen, looking at the newborn in his arms. The man smiled. His talent is acceptable. It wasn't a wasted trip for me. With that, he took the baby through the dimensional portal and disappeared from the room. Soon, time flew. 5 years later, on a certain planet, a blue-haired youth walked into a palace. On the seat was that red-robed man. "Kid, you followed me for 5 years. Today I'll tell you, your name is Qian Yushu. Your father is Lord Qian Qian, the peak master of the 9th peak of the Daoling sect. He is also my master and one of the strongest immortal cultivators in the entire Azure Star system." Hearing this, Qian Yushu looked at the man with anger. "I don't care about his affairs. I only care about where my mother is." The man was indifferent. The master said that once the young master breaks through to the nascent soul realm, he can go find her himself. But before you reach the nascent soul realm, you cannot leave this planet half a step. Qian Yushu's face turned grim. "The nascent soul realm, right? Then I'll cultivate to the nascent soul realm for you to see." In an ancient manner, Qian Yushu was concentrating on breaking through to the nascent soul realm. He was floating cross-legged in the air, while the spiritual energy around him gathered at his dantian at a visible rate. Soon, hundreds of years passed in a flash. As Qian Yushu opened his eyes, a bolt of lightning tore through the sky. Immediately, countless green bolts of lightning like long whips struck his body. Above the manor, two figures stood in the void. At this time, the green lightning transformed into purple, frantically pounding Qian Yushu's body, until a crisp sword ring pierced heaven and earth. A brilliant golden sword light pierced through the layers of dark clouds and swept the sky. As the light dissipated, dots of golden light flashed around Qian Yushu. The red-robed man was delighted. "The Gingjin sword ring. The young master has successfully ascended to the nascent soul realm." At the same time, Qian Yushu jumped into the air, looking at the man who was somewhat similar to him, and said excitedly, "12th brother, you came to see me break through to the nascent soul realm yourself." The man said calmly, "With your talent, where would you need me to look after you? I just came to offer congratulations." The red-robed man nearby bowed. "Congratulations to the young master for reaching 5,000 years of age. May your immortal fortune prosper." Qian Yushu frowned. "Spirit servant, I have ascended to the nascent soul realm as you requested. Now can you tell me about my mother?" Hearing this, the spirit servant bowed even lower. This was not the request of this old servant, but the request of Lord Qian Qian for the young master. With a wave of his hand, "Since the young master is now in the nascent soul realm, I will naturally fulfill the promise. Please be prepared." As the surrounding space continuously shifted, Qian Yushu joyfully thought he was about to see his mother, but what appeared before him was a tombstone with his mother's photo. The pouring rain fell on Qian Yushu. He looked at everything before him with lonely eyes. 10,000 words stuck in his throat like fish bones. The spirit servant explained, "Your mother passed away naturally 12 years ago. Lord Qian Qian bestowed many longevity elixirs, but human power ultimately cannot resist the will of heaven. For a mortal without spiritual roots, living to 300 years is not easy." Qian Yushu knelt before his mother's grave, his heart filled with confusion. The 12th brother patted Qian Yushu's shoulder to comfort him. "14th brother, please restrain your grief. In the future, stay by my side and help me." After watching Qian Yushu's memories, I let out a deep sigh. His memories were vast and complex. After his nascent soul stage, there were also power struggles between the various heirs of the 12th brother and the 9th peak master Qian Qian of the Daoling sect. This was completely different from the open atmosphere of the celestial serpent star system martial civilization. The class system of his universe civilization could be said to be extremely strict and cruel. In the world of immortal civilization, high-level cultivators look at the common people as no different from weeds. Whether righteous or evil, to practice a certain technique or refine a certain magic tool, harvesting an entire planet of people was a common occurrence there. If I had traveled to his world as a commoner, I probably would have become a grain of sand in the rolling dust long ago. However, the killer is often killed. Since then, Qian Yushu also did many harmful things for his cultivation, which offset my little guilt after killing him. And now, whether it's techniques or magical supernatural powers, Qian Yushu's thousands of years of accumulation all belong to me. A book appeared in my hand. This mystic spirit treasure record was the technique Qian Yushu valued most. Cultivating it to great completion is equivalent to level 15 of martial arts. It is comparable to the martial arts of White River and Duanifeng. It's hard to truly distinguish the difference between the two cultivation systems without practicing different cultivation techniques yourself. Since I could encounter one Qian Yushu, I might encounter a second opponent from an immoral civilization in the future. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. skill, and the mentor's level 16 path could not stop the invasion of the dark universe. The highest achievement I can currently achieve is only level 16. Instead of following the rules, it's better to let myself go. Maybe I can create an unprecedented immortal martial path. Thinking of this, I lightly stroked my chest, slowly merging the immortal cultivator's soul with the martial artist's martial imprint and martial will. In an instant, a brilliant golden light radiated from my body. The cores of the two were connected, and the thing produced by the fusion of the two, I named it True Spirit. According to Qian Yushu's memories, because they suffered from the invasion of the dark universe, after being powerless to save the situation, the cultivators of the entire immortal civilization under the lead of a powerful cultivator reincarnated the entire world. With these predecessors whose homes were destroyed and civilizations reincarnated, the powerhouses of this universe should better recognize the essence of exotic beast invasion. I hope one day I can stand together with that mysterious powerful cultivator. Thinking of this, I shook my head. Forget it, I won't think about these messy things for now. I then sat cross-legged. Next is the first step, drawing energy into the body. Currently, under a large tree on the nurturing fetus planet, Lu Mother was video calling a migrating friend. Lu Dehai was also making arduous preparations to break through to a level 7 Grandmaster. On the other side, the beautiful officer was methodically directing robots to build a house for the family. However, at that moment, the air above the entire nurturing fetus planet suddenly surged. Wisps of colorful light slowly gathered and then fell like a huge funnel. At the moment people touched it, the mist continuously washed their bodies. On my side, the colorful light continuously washed my physical body. Feeling the abnormality, I suddenly opened my eyes. Looking at the scene before me, could this be the heavenly vision caused by immortal talent? I lightly waved my arm. According to Qian Yushu's memories, one grade is one heaven, and the cultivation speed for each grade is far apart. Qian Yushu had a second grade spiritual root talent and was born with a vision. But in comparison, why is my ability to swallow cosmic energy hundreds of times stronger than his? But regardless, the mystic spirit treasure record gave me a huge surprise. With such strong cosmic energy swallowing power, it is incomparable to any martial art technique. Even if the immortal and martial paths cannot be merged but only practiced together, there are many benefits. It won't be long before I naturally ascend to level 11. However, at that moment, several brilliant white lights burst from my body. Feeling the changes in my body, since I had spiritual roots, the immortal cells were frantically absorbing the cosmic energy converted by the mystic spirit treasure record technique. In just the blink of an eye, a white sphere the size of an egg condensed in my dantian, and it was still growing. Looking at the watermelon-sized sphere, my face was full of disbelief. Over time, the diameter of the white sphere broke through to 100 meters. Fortunately, my dantian was vast and could easily accommodate it no matter how it grew. But then my eyes froze. Could this be my immortal golden core? According to Qian Yushu's memories, an ordinary immortal cultivator's golden core is only the size of an egg. I've never heard of one growing this large. Logically, when the golden core expands to a certain extent, it should be like water overflowing when full or the moon waning when full. It should break the golden core to form a nascent soul and enter the next stage. It's truly strange. Is the problem with the technique or with myself? Meanwhile, a sea of cosmic energy was still pouring into my body. The golden core condensed by the mystic spirit treasure record was still surging. Following this trend, it wouldn't be long before it turned into a vast white planet. I continuously absorbed the great might of heaven and earth from the surroundings. One must know that Qian Yushu also practiced both paths, but the effect shown on him was very ordinary. Was it because he gave up on the martial path early on? After thinking for a moment, I slowly stood up. Perhaps at this moment, there are others also trying to merge immortal and martial paths. If I encounter them in the future, I can verify my guesses. Looking at the source power that was originally only the size of a light orb grow to the size of a house, I didn't expect my cosmic energy to surge so much. Could it be because of the destruction of the immortal civilization, the universe source scattered and relied on the inheritance, so that every person who practices immortal techniques can get a portion of the source power? It seems I have to study it carefully. On the other side, in a certain part of the Yamu star sector, after the tournament concluded, the noise and prosperity of this starry sky were gradually fading. In contrast, as a rising tourist attraction, it was still receiving many tourists from other star sectors every day. With the appearance of a figure, the green bead in his hand continuously emitted a piercing ring. The red-robed man had a grave expression. It can't be wrong. Young Master Qian Yushu's aura was cut off here. Looking at the massive competition arena, 12th Brother's eyes showed a hint of sadness. The soul fire is extinguished, and the divine sense is cut off. He is most likely completely perished. The red-robed man spoke slowly. Before reincarnation, the 9th Peak Master had many offspring, but after going through reincarnation, less than 1% remained. Those who can survive now are all precious. Now, young Master Qian Yushu's position in the Peak Master's heart is probably 100 times stronger than in his previous life. We just got the news and the person is gone. How should we explain this? While the two were frowning and silent, a voice came from behind them. Are the two here for tourism? Currently, our tour group is having an activity. Not only can you tour the entire Yamu Star sector in 3 days and relive the entire martial arts arts tournament, but there will even be beautiful women accompanying you the entire way. After it ends, we will even give you a holographic recording of the final scene and a signed photo from the champion. Just as 12th brother was about to wave his hand and refuse, he suddenly saw a familiar figure on the poster. His eyes erupted with bursts of killing intent. Now, immediately give me a copy of the recording of the final scene. Facing the request from 12th brother, the man solemnly told him, the recordings and posters are not for sale, but if you two are interested in joining our tour group. Before he could finish, a black gold card with a special pattern was suddenly handed to him. The man was instantly terrified. After a transaction, the man acting as the guide ran away excitedly. If the two have other matters, you can contact me at any time. Looking at the poster in 12th brother's hand, the spirit servant couldn't help but ask, Your Highness, why did you buy this? Could young Master Qian Yushu's death be related to this martial arts tournament? 12th brother stared fixedly at the image on the poster. Let's watch it first. I have a premonition it's related to this. The scenes from the final appeared in their minds like a movie, until the scene of Qian Yushu's death appeared. The spirit servant's eyes were full of shock. It is truly hard to imagine this person at level 10 actually possessed such terrifying power. Did young Master Qian Yushu, who had the strength equivalent to level 13 of this universe, die at his hands? In contrast, 12th brother's face was surprisingly calm. A universe civilization is vast. It's not strange for one or two amazing geniuses to appear. Moreover, we have seen ones even more exaggerated than him. But since the culprit has been found, our mission for this trip is completed. With that, the two shot toward a certain part of the starry sky. We should return as soon as possible to report this matter to the Peak Master. Meanwhile, on my side, as my deduction progress reached 100%, I suddenly opened my eyes. As I expected, just deducing a health-preserving longevity technique only required a small portion of the source power. Once the first level is practiced, it can extend life by 10 years, and the second level can extend it by 30 years. There are 9 levels in total. If practiced to great completion, it can extend a person's life by more than 5,000 years. This is longer than the lifespan of an ordinary level 11 martial artist. Although the last few levels are very difficult, as long as they practice a few levels, they can have hundreds or thousands of years of lifespan. Most importantly, this technique is much simpler than practicing the immortal and martial paths. No matter what, I have to let my family live a few more years, until they are tired of living. However, at that moment, my heart suddenly tightened. I saw the universe's source power frantically pouring into my body. Feeling the changes in myself, I couldn't help but grin. I have finally stepped into the level 11 realm. In my vital energy and blood, the immortal cells were like stars, dotting my martial body into a boundless star system. Every newborn immortal cell represented a stellar seed. With my current state, I should be able to try entering that so-called red giant form of the stellar supreme body. After a star goes through its long growth period, youth, and prime, it finally enters its old age. Once it feels its lifespan is coming to an end, it will generously release all its light and heat. This is the so-called red giant form. Once I enter this state, my strength will also undergo a terrifying increase. A conservative estimate would be 1,000 times or even 10,000 times more than when I participated in the tournament. But one thing made me uncertain, and that was whether my body could currently withstand the leap from a main sequence star to a red giant. Logically, I inherited the stellar path from Wang Yi. Since he could cultivate to level 15, I can naturally do it too. Moreover, I am much more outstanding than Wang Yi. Now at level 11, I have 330,000 immortal cells. Wang Yi could not compare to me even at level 12, and the strength of a single immortal cell is incomparable. This extreme allows me to kill across 2 major realms, but it also has a consequence. Once I enter the red giant state, I won't be able to withstand this power, like a balloon filled with lava that will explode with a bang. There are 2 solutions now. First, start consciously controlling the evolution speed of the immortal cells from now on, no longer striving for the theoretical perfect state in the next ascension. The theoretical limit the stellar supreme body can bear is 5 million immortal cells, and I can choose to ascend at 1 million. This can be considered a self-mutilating solution. I won't choose this unless it's a last resort. The second solution is to find other ways to continuously enhance the strength of my martial body until it is strong enough to bear the theoretical maximum number of immortal cells while also entering the red giant state. Although my martial body is already strong enough, there is no strongest in this world, only stronger. Immortal martial fusion is one way. At least after engraving immortal true patterns deep in my bones and blood, I clearly feel the so-called immortal power continuously nourishing my stellar supreme body. The end of this path is the immortal martial supreme body. It's just a pity that this path is extremely difficult, and the cosmic source power required is too vast. It's completely a bottomless pit, but at least it's a direction, letting me constantly move toward it. However, at that moment, I was surprised to find that in just this short time, my immortal golden core in my dantian had reached a diameter of hundreds of kilometers. I originally thought about shattering this golden core to use as nourishment for the immortal cells and martial body, but I just tried it and my mind was shaken. My intuition told me I must not do that. Fine, I want to see how large you can grow. Soon after coming out of the dream space, I discovered that only half a month had passed. I didn't expect the natural cosmic energy energy caused by my breakthrough to directly affect the environment of the entire nurturing fetus planet. Through this change, the native species on the nurturing fetus planet had all grown. The tallest vegetation had exceeded 30,000 meters in height, and even among mammals, there were beings exceeding 50 meters. I looked at my sister and asked, "Where are Mom and your sister Qingxue?" "I don't see them." Lu Qinghe looked disgusted. "Brother, you've been in seclusion for several years." Sister Qingxue accompanied Mom to the neighboring planet to see Auntie's family. I didn't care about her complaint and thought, counting the time, there are about 4 years left until the crisis of the dark side. There's not much time left for me. I must continue to find opportunities for breakthrough, and I have a strong intuition that there will be what I need in the void battlefield. After spending some warm time with my family, I taught them the health-preserving technique I had just created. My parents also looked dozens of years younger to the naked eye. Soon it was late at night. The beautiful officer and I sat on a tree. Dong Qingxue leaned in my arms with her eyes closed. She said, "By the way, during the time you were in seclusion, Speaker Pavlov looked for you twice, saying it was about some battlefield." My eyes were full of tenderness. "I'll contact him tomorrow." "Wife, I might be out for a while. You just stay home and recover. A nearly 10-year pregnancy will be hard on you." But she comforted me. "I'm not afraid of hardship. This will be the happiest time of my life." With that, 2 red lips were deeply pressed together. "Remember to come back early. The child and I will wait for you at home." The next day, my figure appeared in the White Hole Shuller. I looked at the virtual screen and asked, "Lord Speaker, are you looking for me because of the void battlefield?" Pavlov's face was grave. "The entrance to the void battlefield of the 100 star sectors opened more than a week ago. I originally wanted to ask if you wanted to go, but you were in seclusion and missed the conscription ship heading to the battlefield." I was stunned. Then what should I do? One must know that the void battlefield is called the real main battlefield between the front universe and the back universe. It gathers a large number of elites, and the top powerhouses of the back universe are also there. Knowing my intentions, Pavlov spoke slowly. "Although you missed our star sector's conscription ship, you can go to other star sectors. I've sent the coordinates to you. I've also greeted the battlefield in advance, but the ships sent by the Celestial Serpent star system don't know your identity, so you'll need to overcome many difficulties yourself. I hope you are careful." His face showed worry. "Have you really thought about going to the void battlefield so early? With your talent, there's no need to rush. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future." I grinned and punched my chest hard. "Lord Speaker, I am already level 11. Pavlov was stunned. After a moment of silence, he nodded slightly. "I understand. A young man in his 20s who has reached level 11 and possesses an immortal great extraordinary life body. No one knows better than himself how to walk the path ahead." After a simple farewell to my family, I slightly changed my appearance to avoid being recognized. The scene changed to a huge spaceship. A young lady in a blue uniform opened the door to the VIP room. "Dear passengers, we are about to arrive in the Sawyer Star Sector. In the next part of the journey, we will pass by the following starry sky attractions." Before she could finish, she saw an 8-legged octopus clinging tightly to the top of the spaceship. She asked, "What happened, Mr. Bard? Why did you go up there?" The octopus named Bard had a face full of fear. "Don't mind me, Miss Stewardess. Please be sure to inform me at the next stop. I want to get off." The lady explained, "But the next stop is at least 20 light years away from your destination. You should come down first." Bard shook his head frantically. "The most urgent thing for me now is to get off the ship immediately." The stewardess was helpless. She turned her gaze to me. "Respected sir, do you need anything?" I looked at her with cold eyes. "How much longer until Planet Moda?" Feeling the chill in my eyes, the stewardess trembled and said, "2 more hours." After answering my question, she ran out of the VIP room in a hurry and looked back. Being near that person makes me feel an inexplicable cold. I think I know why Bard wants to get off so early. Meanwhile, I was thinking, 2 hours? That should be in time. I glanced at the 8-legged octopus on the top of the ship. After reaching level 11, although I was gradually mastering this surging power perfectly, I would still accidentally leak a bit of it. I hadn't had time to study the follow-up techniques of the crystal observance method properly. With my current spiritual power, if I encountered another peeping like Chen Yushu's, I could easily counter it and cause a backlash. The 4-color crystal visualized at level 12, besides having all the attributes of the obsidian crystal, has extra emotions. The 4 colors of crystal represent 4 different emotions. Red is anger, yellow is joy, blue represents sadness, and black is fear. This also indicates that I can now launch spiritual level emotional attacks. Duanifeng is truly talented to create such a technique. No wonder he could compete with Wang Yi's stellar path. One must know that in a battle between the two, even a slight ripple in the state of mind can directly affect the outcome. This means of directly affecting the opponent's emotions is truly a bit perverted. One side is as calm as still water while the other is eroded by various distracting thoughts. The outcome is obvious. With my current spiritual power strength, unless I encounter a particularly perverted fellow, wouldn't I be able to do whatever I want? I peeked at the 8-legged octopus. As my spiritual power eroded his mind, he instantly became crazed. Just then, the stewardess appeared at the door with tea. Looking at Bard laughing one moment and crying the next, she was speechless. So he's a fool, crying and laughing. No wonder he likes to be a chandelier instead of sitting. As the broadcast announced arrival at the station, Bard immediately put everything on. Quick Quick, let me off the ship now. I'm not crazy. There's something dirty on this ship. During his run, I quietly placed a black gold card in his jacket pocket. This is compensation for using you as an experiment. I also stood up straight. The conscription ship seemed to be nearby. There were 20 minutes left. The speaker said those who can go to the void battlefield are powerhouses from other star systems. I'll go see what kind of people they are. Looking at the dilapidated spaceship before me, I stood stunned. Only now did I understand that the unobtrusive and slightly broken conscription ship the Lord Speaker spoke of looked like this. As I walked up step by step, a burly man shouted at me, "Kid, who are you looking for?" I took a card from my pocket. "Hello, I'm here to board the ship to the void battlefield." After taking my card and looking at the information on it, the burly man couldn't help but mock in his heart. A mere level 11 martial artist really thinks that place is an amusement park. He then spoke, "Find a place to stay quietly. Don't move around randomly, otherwise we won't be responsible for any accidents." Inside the spaceship, there was an empty corridor. I stood before a dilapidated door. This should be it. I put my identity card near the sensor on the door. The moment the door opened, a door not far from me also opened, and a red-haired man walked out stretching. At the moment our eyes met, the man's eyes showed surprise. This kid is clearly only level 11. Why do I feel an inexplicable palpitation from him? I ignored him and walked into my room. Looking at the dilapidated furniture, I was speechless. One must know that those qualified to go to the void battlefield are at least level 11 powerhouses and can be granted noble status in any star sector. I didn't expect luxury, but this place was no different from a garbage dump. But it didn't matter, as long as I could reach the battlefield smoothly. I would be cultivating in the dream space anyway. I slowly closed my eyes. I'd take this opportunity to start challenging level 13 powerhouses and get better at using the 4-color crystals abilities. In the spaceship's cockpit, a man was feasting on the food before him. A woman walked behind him and said, "All passengers have arrived. We can take off." The man pressed the start button, and the spaceship made a piercing sound. The woman joked, "I almost thought it wouldn't fly." The man wiped his mouth. How could that be? Although it's an old model ship that has been phased out, except for the old parts and backward style, it can continue to fly for several thousand light years without a problem. The woman was indifferent. "Even if it's a one-time transport, couldn't you buy a slightly decent ship?" The man grinned. "You said it yourself. It's one time. Why use a good one when you throw it away after one use? And this is a good opportunity to let these recruits feel the wasteland style of the void battlefield in advance." The man asked, "By the way, are there any outstanding ones among the newcomers this time?" The woman replied, "There's one named Sire, less than 1,000 years old and already level 12, and he has a son great extraordinary life body." The man stroked his chin. "Such a genius is considered to have excellent talent even in the void battlefield." In the next second, the woman's face turned grim. "There's also a veteran. This is his 3rd time entering. I think his strength might not be below yours or mine." The man's expression became serious. "I know. This person's name is Huang Ji. I fought alongside him once, but this person is quite utilitarian. He has a purpose every time he enters the battlefield. Let him be. Even if he had 100 times the courage, he wouldn't dare cause trouble on the way. Once we get there, it won't matter to us, but having him is good. At least there will be fewer meaningless losses on the way back." After hearing the man's words, the red-haired woman asked curiously, "By the way, who is the one hitching a ride?" The man explained, "Nothing, just a little guy who missed the ship, but his talent is incredibly good. Less than 100 years old and already level 11. He stabbed the food before him. What a pity. Such a fresh sprout, sent out like this. Why not wait a bit longer? I don't know if he can survive. All we have to do is make sure he doesn't die on the way. Once there, it'll depend on his luck. Young people who don't know the height of the heavens always have to suffer a bit." Just then, a virtual screen appeared before the two. The burly man at the ship's entrance said, "Sire in room 485 wants to change rooms. He thinks the room is too bad and wants a better place." The red-haired woman snorted, "Tell him the best room on this ship is mine. If he wants to change, tell him to come find me directly." As the virtual screen disappeared, the man smiled. "What you said? What if he really comes to find you? They're all level 12. These recruits might not be afraid of us." A cold light flashed in the woman's eyes. "I haven't been on the battlefield for half a month. My hands are a bit itchy. I'll use them to relax." In the dream space, countless bolts of lightning fell like flood dragons from the sky. A clear crack appeared on my face. Combined with the golden glazed body of the immortal path, I could not only take a level 13 attack head-on but was completely fearless. Looking at the level 13 before me covered in black lightning, "Please rest in peace now," I said as the universe source power scattered around frantically gathered on my fist. "To show my respect, I will go all out. True martial power of the stars destroy." In an instant, a brilliant starry river crossed the night sky, and under the bathe of the light, the level 13's body dissipated in an instant. Immediately, bursts of black mist filled the air, and in just an instant, it wrapped my entire body. A cocoon radiating green light was floating. I don't know how long passed. As I broke out of the cocoon, the surrounding black mist instantly scattered. My eyes flashed with excitement. I finally took it down. This level 13 powerhouse named Lei Futian was truly not simple. He had crushed me countless times before, until I finally defeated him after breaking through to level 11. Looking at the black lightning flashing in my palm, interesting. Many lightning lightning-shaped palm prints together, as if there's a group of terrifying thundercloud storms. If level 11 and level 12 are about controlling rule power, then level 13 involves the law power of the universe, which represents the most powerful and essential power of a certain field and is a secondary derivative of the universe source power. Reaching this step is equivalent to initially touching the essence of the universe. Rules just grasp the pulse of the heaven and earth's operation, while laws touch the essence. To put it simply, if the entire universe is compared to a game, martial artists below level 11 are ordinary players. Level 12 is about mastering rules and using mechanics to attack others, and once level 13 is reached and laws are mastered, it's equivalent to being a privileged player in the game who can see the code through the back end and even modify their own game data. I just mastered the law of thunder, and other attainments have also broken through to the 6th realm, which has made my strength undergo a leap. Because the memories of a level 13 powerhouse are truly too vast, I have to absorb the knowledge and experience slowly. Once I fully master them, I will be the #1 person below level 13. After finishing my cultivation, I slowly open my eyes. I then instantly spread my spiritual power to the entire spaceship. 7 days had passed since boarding, and during that time, no one had come. Thinking of this, I pushed open a dilapidated door, but the moment I stepped out, the iron plate under my feet collapsed. Holy cow! It's hard on this ship. It's broken like this and can still perform space jumps. However, at that moment, a hand suddenly patted my shoulder. A burly man said to me with a smile, "Finally met a living person. I thought I was the only one on this ship. By the way, brother, my name is Saya, and I'm from the Paluo Star Sector." I also made a simple self-introduction. Lu Sheng, Yamo Star Sector. In the following time, I met him every time I went out, so I suspected that this guy had been wandering outside all the time and had never stayed in his room. Time flew. Just as I felt the spaceship had been forgotten in the starry sky, a violent vibration instantly spread to the entire ship. I released my spiritual power to perceive everything. I saw the dilapidated ship crash directly onto the surface of a planet. Letting such a piece of scrap metal fly in space was too forced. The moment I opened my door, a man shouted at me, "Get out of my way!" Looking at his retreating back, a hint of playfulness flashed in my eyes. It seems the immortal path techniques are truly good for cultivating one's character. If it were before, I would have twisted his head off long ago. A while later, I appeared outside the ship. Many people had gathered on the planet's surface. The weakest were level 11, and there were even more level 12s. I previously thought I shouldn't be too flashy, but now it seems I was too careful. These fellows are each more arrogant than me, with their auras fully open, like peacocks fighting, being a shiny torch in the dark universe. Then one figure caught my attention. It was the man who had just shouted at me, holding a long sword and looking at everyone with disdain. Saya appeared behind me and introduced. This person's name is Sire, a super genius from the Paluo Star Sector. His eyes flashed with a cold light, but the void battlefield doesn't lack geniuses. One must know that only those who can survive on the battlefield are true geniuses. Since he's so flashy, he'll definitely be the target of exotic beast attacks on the battlefield. He won't live long. I was indifferent. Did you have a conflict with him? Saya suddenly became awkward. Actually, I was beaten by him before. This is my biggest secret. I've never told anyone on this ship. I only told you because I consider you a friend. You must not tell anyone else. I was speechless. Goodness, since when did he and I become friends? He truly is familiar with everyone. Just then, a voice suddenly spoke. This guy is the one who beat you. In the next second, Saya suddenly shouted at the burly man. Damn it. Do you want everyone to know about this? The man hurried to apologize. Truly sorry. I almost forgot it was your biggest secret, and I'm the only one on the entire ship who knows. Hearing their conversation, I was truly speechless. I'm truly convinced. What is all this? Looking at the two arguing beside me, I couldn't help but mock in my heart. He says it's his biggest secret, but the fellow uses this same set of words for everyone. And this stone man, he doesn't look very smart. The two are a perfect match. No wonder they became friends. After their argument, the stone man pointed at me and asked, Saya, is this also your friend? Saya put his arm around my shoulder. That's right. This is a good brother I just met. Just as I was about to refute Saya, as footsteps approached, a voice came. The red-haired woman shouted to everyone, shut up. There's something important to announce. She pointed at her feet. Now, you have officially stepped onto the void battlefield. I was stunned and looked around. I didn't expect this place to be the void battlefield. I then released all my spiritual power to perceive everything. However, what I saw was still a void, with no planets or stars, giving a sense of desolation and death. But in the next second, I was surprised to find that the natural cosmic energy here was richer than in the usual starry sky, and the great might of heaven and earth was also more active. Cultivating here should be more than 2 or 3 times faster than outside. Hearing what I said, a hint of satisfaction flashed on the red-haired woman's face. There are indeed many benefits here. What you feel now is just a small part, but don't be happy too soon. From now on, you might suffer the invasion of level 12, level 13, and even level 14 exotic beasts at any time. If your luck and strength are poor, wait to die here. As soon as the red-haired woman finished speaking, a burst of hearty laughter came from the crowd. Sire held his long sword high, his body radiating endless battle intent. This place is just to my liking. At the same time, Saya asked anxiously, Officer, don't we have some kind of base in the void battlefield? We can't just stay here all the time, can we? I thought the same. Indeed, after entering here, will we move freely without any base to speak of? The red-haired woman said calmly. The 100-star sectors all have their own bases here. Otherwise, how could we guard this line of defense to stop the invasion of exotic beasts from the dark side? However, the coordinates in the void battlefield are extremely unstable, and it's impossible to accurately lock the base position by the spaceship jump alone. This means we still have a long way to go to the base, but if you want to rely on the spaceship to go there, no one will stop you. The stone man rubbed his bald head. What does she mean by that? I frowned, because we are now in the cruel void battlefield with countless exotic beasts. If we continue to take the spaceship, it won't be long before it's shot down by an exotic beast. Even a level 12 ship would explode in an instant. And there is one most critical point. In front of high-level exotic beasts, whether a scientific spaceship can operate normally is a question. Don't forget that exotic beasts can affect all technological products. The man in glasses clapped his hands and praised. This little brother is right, because every time we enter the battlefield, the conscription ship will most likely be scrapped, so there's no need to use a good one. And the following itinerary for everyone is very simple. Just follow the team and find any way to survive. With that, the man in glasses leaped up. The red-haired woman added, by the way, before arriving at the void base, you are not qualified to call us officers. Sire was displeased. What's so great? It's just surviving, right? Then everyone followed the two and flew into the distance. At this time, the stone man patted Sire's shoulder. It looks like Sire, the one who beat you, is not on good terms with the guides. Sire raised his eyebrows. That's because he asked to change rooms on the way, which caused some unpleasantness. But let's wait and see the good show. I have a premonition he'll be very unlucky next. Then the three of us also flew toward the large group. On the way, Saya explained to me. Actually, Tang Dun is a pretty good guy. It's just that sometimes his stone head doesn't turn. I joked. So his name is Tang Dun. I thought he was called Malphite. During the next period of time, everyone followed the two guides as they flew continuously in the empty starry sky. Over 80% were level 12 powerhouses, and they were all unknown to each other. In contrast, the level 11 martial artists gathered in 2s and 3s to communicate. Generally, only those who are slightly weaker will gather together, but Tang Dun was an exception. He was clearly level 12 but stayed with a group of level 11s. The void battlefield here is indeed quite strange. The rules are completely different from those of the usual cosmic starry sky. On the way, all kinds of creatures appeared out of thin air. In some places, gravity was completely lost, while in others, gravity was dozens of times higher than usual, with no logic at all. Using a game as a metaphor, this is a gray area with program errors and messy code. In this case, if they suddenly suffered an attack from a powerful exotic beast, the consequences would be unimaginable. Thinking of this, the corners of my mouth curled up. My eyes flashed with endless battle intent, but I haven't tried squeezing a level 13 exotic beast yet.